My name is Scott Wilson, and I would love for every day of my life to count. I guess I'm a pretty competitive guy. I used to be the Alberta junior tennis champion. Now I like to be the best Christian I can be. But for many years, I didn't know the plan God had for me. I think my life before Christ was empty and meaningless, and I had absolutely no direction. I was introduced to Center Street Church through a friend. She stopped going after about a month, but I kept going. What I felt when I had gone there was I immediately felt the warmth and the love in the room, which I was starving for. But I definitely had to be broken to become a server to something bigger than me. So I think there's a lot of value in that. So if I was going to be part of that crew there, then I had to start walking the walk. So I had to start changing things incrementally, and there were some small changes, and then there were some big changes, and that goes on to this day. How did I come to Christ? That's wasn't an immediate thing, and I would encourage anybody. It's not something that happened overnight. It probably literally took me, if I could name the day, probably took me 2 years to go to that point where I could give everything over. There was a lot of weaning out of some other stuff, and that purification goes on to this day. That's one thing I love about Christianity is if you're a perfectionist, there's always something to work on. There's always something to do, and there's always, using a tennis analogy, there's always something to work on in your game as well as with life. I spend an allocated time per day to prayer. It's one of the biggest changes in my life in the last couple of years. I know dedicating the time to that has really been a major influence in sticking with the plan and listening. I want to live and leave on the best terms I can, because I don't know when that day, none of us know when that day is going to come. There's no endless amount of stuff to do down here. Now that I'm a Christian, my life is extremely rewarding. It's got tons of purpose. I'm driven in a good way to try to do the best job I can before I go. I'm always trying to ask God, what do you think about this? What do you want me to do? What's the right circumstance here? And I'm always trying to get better at that, because in a nice way, I've only got so much time. So I just want to do the best job I can. I think it's really important for people that are non-Christians to know that there's a lot of God in them, whether they know it or not. I love trying to look at people and say, geez, if I was God, what would God see in these people? Look at I can always see the incredible things in people, that incredible energy you have, the stick-to-itiveness and all the giftings you had. What if you put it into something that you love to do for other people? And it does work. And believe it or not, you'll have 4 times the amount of energy that you thought you had, and you'll feel really good about how you're using your life, because really that's all you have, is your time. I want every person I meet to see God in me.